Hamas, saying there will be hell to pay if the group fails to disarm within a short period. Speaking alongside Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Trump dismissed suggestions of differences with Israel over the Gaza ceasefire, saying Israel has lived up to the plan in full. Trump said he has no concerns about Israel's actions and praised its implementation of the agreement, while directing his criticism at Hamas. The ceasefire, which took effect in October, has failed to fully halt violence, with hundreds of Palestinians reported killed since its declaration and Israeli soldiers also killed. Trump said the US wants the truce to hold, but stressed that Hamas must disarm or face serious consequences. Let's take a listen in to the statements.
About Hamas, and we talked about disarmament, and they're going to be given a very short period of time to disarm, and we'll see how that works out. Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner will be in charge of that from our side, but if they don't disarm as they agreed to do, they agreed to it, and then they'll be held to pay for them. And we don't want that. We're not looking for that. But they have to disarm within a... I'm not concerned about anything that Israel's doing. I'm concerned about what other people are doing or maybe aren't doing. But I'm not concerned. They've lived up to the plan.
Matthew joins us once again. Of course, the first phase of the ceasefire, which was... came into operation on October the 10th, has indeed have much criticism. We've had 2 IDF deaths since the ceasefire began, and over 400 Palestinian ones. Now, of course, this first phase, one of its key points was that violence will cessate. Of course, that hasn't happened, along with the full flow of aid into the enclave. What evidence does Washington really rely on to conclude Israel has complied fully in this first phase of the ceasefire agreement?
Well, the United States has been monitoring the activities in Gaza very closely. I assume through intelligence gathering. President Trump is quite interested in the success of the Gaza peace plan, and he wants it to be to take effect, and he wants it to lead to a durable peace. The United States customarily, has observers, and it uses field gathering information gathering techniques. It uses satellite technology. It has a number of ways that it can ascertain what's going on in the ground in Gaza, and it doesn't share this information, at least not while it's happening, with reporters like me. These things are secret on national security grounds, and sometimes the information is released to the public later. So we don't know exactly how they're doing it, but I don't have any doubt that the United States is highly involved in monitoring what is going on in Gaza right now, and that they want the Trump administration is quite committed to the plan succeeding. There have reportedly been violations of the ceasefire agreement on both sides, but President Trump wants to move on to the second phase of the peace plan, which is establishing, and I think they call it a peace council, an internationally staffed peace council that will oversee what is going on in Gaza. Hamas has not, at least so far, given up its arms, and that is a sticking point. If it doesn't give up its arms, then it will be in violation of the draft peace agreement, and that would give Israel reasons to try to enforce it with the backing of the United States.
Israel's killed over 400 people inside the Gaza Strip since this ceasefire has started. How can how can the American president expect Hamas to disarm if Israel continues its violence inside the enclave?
Well, and were those 400 people terrorists? There have been bands of apparently groups, people authorized by Hamas, carrying out carrying out acts of violent retaliation against people who are deemed to have been collaborators with Israel. And so, I don't know what the breakdown of the 400 people is that you mentioned, but I know that Hamas's, their argument, there are reports that both sides have not been abiding 100% by the first phase of the peace plan, but it's pretty fair. It's pretty obvious that Hamas does not have clean hands here, and that they are they are not doing everything they can to cooperate with enforcing the terms of the ceasefire.
Okay.
Whether Hamas is a worse offender than Israel, I can't really say.
Okay, Matthew Verdum, thank you very much for joining us here on NewsX.